Licensing process. Purpose, licensing process, sex. 10 to 103C, 1, 10 to 105, 10 to 109. Qualifications for initial licensure. To transact insurance business in Maryland, a person or business must have an insurance producer license. The license must be in the line of insurance that the producer plans to sell. Producers must be licensed in each major line for which they sell, solicit, or negotiate insurance. Maryland issues licenses in 6 major, and some limited, lines of insurance. Life insurance, accident and health or sickness insurance, property insurance, casualty insurance, variable life and variable annuity products, personal lines of property and casualty insurance. Specific qualifications for different types of licenses are found in the section Types of Licenses. The following individuals do not need to be licensed as an insurance producer: an insurer, an officer, director, or employee of an insurer or producer whose duties are executive, administrative, managerial, or clerical and are only indirectly related to the sale of insurance. An officer, director, or employee of an insurer or producer who is engaged in underwriting, loss control, or claim processing or settlement. An officer, director, or employee of an insurer or producer who acts as a special agent or agency supervisor assisting insurance producers, if the person's activities are limited to providing technical advice that does not include selling insurance. An employer or association, or the officers, directors, and employees of an employer or association, or the trustees of an employee trust plan that involves the use of insurance issued by an insurer, provided no compensation is made directly or indirectly. A person who takes enrollments or performs administrative services for group insurance plans and does not receive commissions. A person who provides risk management services to business entities. A person who performs administrative services related to mass-marketed property and casualty insurance. An officer, director, or employee who administers a company's employee benefits program and who is not compensated by the company issuing the insurance contracts. Employees of insurers who rate or classify risks or train insurance producers who do not sell insurance. A person whose activities are limited to advertising insurance policies without an intent to solicit insurance. A non-resident who sells commercial property and casualty insurance to insureds with risks located in more than one state, provided the person is licensed in the state where the insured maintains its principal place of business, and full-time employees who advise their employers about insurance matters and do not receive commissions. Each applicant for a life or health insurance producer license, before taking the licensure examination, must prove to the commissioner that the applicant meets one of the following prerequisites: successful completion of 40 hours of approved pre-licensing education, equivalent experience or training as determined by the commissioner. There are some exemptions from the pre-licensing education requirement. Individuals who have regularly been employed by an insurer or producer in responsible duties may be exempt from pre-licensing education if they are able to provide an employer affidavit. Applicants previously licensed in another state may bring a letter of clearance from their former home state. Recipients of specific nationally recognized designations awarded by national insurance organizations may be exempt. Examination. A Maryland resident applying for an insurance producer license must pass a written examination unless exempt. The examination tests the individual's knowledge of the lines of authority for which application is made, the duties and responsibilities of an insurance producer, the applicable insurance laws and regulations of Maryland. The examination for a health insurance license also covers contracts for nonprofit health service plans, vision plans, dental plan organizations, and HMOs. The following applicants are not required to take a licensure examination. Applicants for licenses to only sell credit life insurance and/or credit accident and health insurance to a borrower of money or buyer of goods in connection with a loan or credit transaction, and applicants for a license to act as an insurance producer for a dental plan organization, nonprofit health service plan, or HMO if the applicant, for compensation, solicited or obtained insurance contracts for any of these organizations continuously from July 1, 1988, to June 20, 1989. There is no state exam for the variable line of authority. Resident applicants must submit proof that they are FINRA, NASD, licensed and have passed an examination enabling them to market securities. License application and fees. Maryland uses the NAIC's individual uniform application for both residents and non-residents. A person applying for a resident insurance producer license must submit a uniform application to the commissioner and vouch for the truth and accuracy of any statement made in the application. If the commissioner determines that an applicant meets the licensing requirements and is properly qualified and trustworthy and that the granting of the license is not against the public interest, the commissioner will issue the license. The Maryland Insurance Administration website provides a current listing of license fees by type of license for new licenses and for renewals. Fees must be submitted with the license application. Types of license. Sex. 1 to 101U, 1, 10 to 104B, 10 to 106, 10, 119, 120, 10 to 201, 204, Comarsec. 31.03.01.01. An insurance producer is a person who sells, solicits, negotiates, or renews insurance contracts for compensation, including contracts for nonprofit health service plans, dental plan organizations, and HMOs, to persons issuing the contracts or to existing or prospective insureds other than the insurance producer. Producers. To qualify for a resident producer license, an applicant must be at least 18 years old. Complete the pre-licensing education requirements. Submit an application and pay the required fee. Be trustworthy and of good character, and pass the state examination for the lines of authority for which the application is made. In addition, an applicant must not have committed any act that is a ground for license denial, suspension, or revocation. Advisors. An advisor is a person who, for compensation, examines an insurance policy and provides information about the terms, coverage, and benefits of the policy and gives advice as to whether it is suitable for a particular client. A person must obtain a license before acting as an advisor in Maryland. To qualify for a license, an applicant must be a resident of Maryland and must pass a written examination to test the applicant's trustworthiness and competency or be one of the following: a member in good standing of the Society of Actuaries or the Casualty Actuarial Society, a chartered property casualty underwriter, CPCU, and a member in good standing of the Society of Chartered Property and Casualty Underwriters, a chartered life underwriter, CLU, and a member in good standing of the American Society of Chartered Life Underwriters and Chartered Financial Consultants, a certified employee benefit specialist, CEBS, and a member in good standing of the International Society of Certified Employee Benefit Specialists, a certified financial planner, CFP, currently certified by the Certified Financial Planner Board of Standards, or an individual who has successfully completed a course of study equivalent to any course of study required for membership in good standing in any of the above professional entities and has been conferred the Certified Insurance Counselor designation by the Society of Certified Insurance Counselors. A non-resident may be licensed as an advisor in Maryland if the applicant passes a written examination to determine his or her trustworthiness and competency or provides certification from his or her home state that the applicant is currently licensed as an insurance advisor in that state, or the non-resident's home state does not issue an insurance advisor's license or its equivalent and the commissioner determines that the applicant is otherwise qualified. The applicant must pay the required application and license fees. Non-residents. A person who is not a resident of Maryland may be licensed as an insurance producer in Maryland if the person is a resident licensed producer in good standing in his or her home state, submits a completed uniform application, or an updated copy of his or her home state application, indicating the lines of authority for which a license is sought, provides proof of his or her current home state license, resides in a state that awards non-resident producer licenses to residents on the same basis that Maryland does, and pays the required fees. If a person applies to become licensed as a resident insurance producer within 90 days of establishing legal residence in Maryland, the person need not comply with the education, experience, and examination requirements to obtain a license for any line of authority that the person previously held in his or her home state, unless the Commissioner determines otherwise. Reciprocity. Pre-licensing requirements will be waived for a non-resident license applicant, who has a valid license from his or her home state, if the applicant's home state awards non-resident licenses to residents of Maryland on the same basis. If a non-resident producer satisfies his or her home state's continuing education requirements, it will also satisfy Maryland's requirements if the producer's home state recognizes the satisfaction of its continuing education requirements imposed upon Maryland producers on the same basis. Business entities. To qualify for a license as an insurance producer, a business entity must designate a licensed insurance producer to act as the business entity's principal contact with the administration. The designated insurance producer must provide the insurance producer's name, business address, business telephone number, business fax number, and business email address to the administration. Notify the administration in writing of any change in the above required information within 10 days after the change. Compile and maintain, to the extent reasonably possible, a list of locations where records of the business entity are kept, and cooperate with any investigation conducted by the administration unless the cooperation is subject to an asserted legal privilege. These requirements do not apply to motor vehicle rental companies that apply for a limited lines license to sell insurance in connection with the rental of a motor vehicle. Temporary. A person can obtain a temporary insurance producer's license that is valid for up to 15 months. No examination is required. A temporary license can be granted to the surviving spouse, next of kin, or court-appointed personal representative of a resident licensed producer who dies or is mentally or physically disabled, in order to sell the producer's insurance business or allow enough time for the producer, if merely disabled, to recover and return to the business, or to allow enough time to train people to run the producer's business. A person designated by a licensed producer who is entering active service in the armed forces, or any person whose licensure the Commissioner believes will best serve the public interest. Consideration will not be given to a non-resident applicant for a temporary license absent unusual circumstances. The authority given to the approved temporary licensee is restricted to the same kinds of insurance that the insurance producer who is being replaced was qualified and licensed to transact. A temporary license does not continue after the owner or the personal representative disposes of the business. For your review, a person or business must be licensed to transact insurance business in Maryland. Producers must be licensed in one or more of the 6 major lines of insurance in Maryland before they may sell, solicit, or negotiate insurance in that lines. To qualify for a producer's license, a person must be at least 18 years old, trustworthy, and of good character, complete a pre-licensing course of study, submit an application, pass the license exam, and pay the required fees. A producer in good standing who lives in another state can be licensed as a non-resident producer in Maryland if the person is licensed in his or her home state, submits an application, pays the required fees, and provides proof of the current home state's license. A person must complete at least 40 hours of approved pre-licensing courses before taking the insurance producer licensing examination. A temporary producer's license is valid for 15 months and requires no examination. To qualify for a license as an insurance producer, a business entity must designate a licensed insurance producer to act as the business entity's principal contact with the administration.
All right, let's take the quiz. Which of the following is not a it's not a requirement to obtain a resident producer's license? Is not a requirement. Appointment by 2 insurers. A person must have all the following except a college degree. That's not a requirement, which is good for people that don't want to go after their degree. Larry, Brian, Susan, Jennifer work for All Pro Insurance Company in Maryland. Based on their job description, which of them is not acting as a producer? I would say this one here, the vice president, because she does not receive commissions. They work in the Human Resources Department, so they're probably an HR employee. Just a wild guess. We'll see. All right, Abby lives in Ohio where she is licensed as an insurance producer. She wants to apply for non-resident producer license. Which of the following must she satisfy? I would say she must show her Ohio license to be in good standing. Maybe. We'll see. I don't know about that one. Oh my god, look at this. I got them all right. Definitely need to save this video. This rarely happens, y'all. Holy crap. Alright, let's see. So, it is not required that you are appointed by two insurers. It is not required that you have a college degree to become an insurance producer. At least not in the state of Maryland. I can't speak for all states in the United States, but Maryland you don't have to have it. Probably all states, but I'm just guessing. I've never heard anybody that had to have a college degree to do this, which makes it a great side hustle job, by the way. All right, this one is, like I said, HR department, so they're probably an HR person. They don't receive a commission, and they are not soliciting insurance applications. A person who is not a Maryland resident may be licensed as an insurance producer if the person is a licensed producer in good standing in his or her home state. And I think this applies to most states, as if you want to be selling as a non-resident. At least from what I studied, that's the case. Okay, I'll see you all in the next video.